All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Sky's the Limit Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Doherty, and today we have an awesome guest, round two, with Stephanie Cabral. Stephanie, as you may remember, is a real estate investor and systems strategist who went from underemployed and uncertain to building a thriving rental portfolio valued just shy of $5 million. After leaving behind the traditional career path, she dove headfirst into real estate using everything from 203k loans and private lenders to seller financing deals and reverse 1031 exchanges and historic tax credits and more. So today, Stephanie owns and operates long and midterm rentals and is best known for helping other landlords turn their rental chaos into clean, streamlined systems. So with that, welcome, Stephanie.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me back.
All right. So what have you been up to since last time we did the podcast? I think it's probably been about a year now. So catch me up to speed. What have you been up to? What are you working on?
Yeah. So I've started to move into some creative deals, which has been really interesting. My last three acquisitions have been in creative modalities, which has been just allowing me to make better offers and be more competitive. So that really has been kind of a game changer for me because it was a little bit quiet in the acquisition side of things. I'm still not actively buying on market, but happy to now have some more tools that are in my wheelhouse that I can deploy when I find an asset that I want to capture. So that's been really cool. And I have started working on, I'm really embracing the AI components that are available. So one of the pieces that you mentioned in my bio is that I'm all about systems and processes. And, I run my rentals really using one virtual assistant and a heavy dosage of automation. But AI is now coming out where it's so smart and you don't actually have to plan for every single scenario. It handles these things for you. So I've been just in a lot of groups and implementing on how can I use AI in my management. So building out custom GPTs to improve communication, using it as a thought partner, and then as a specific application for solving a pain point of mine. I've automated so much of my portfolio, except property maintenance is the one piece, these responsive requests that come in, I couldn't automate because they're reactive, right? But using AI, you can actually have an automation that handles a lot of these things. So I'm building this out, I'm solving it. I'm using it to solve my pain point, but I'm building it in a way that I'll be able to make it deployable to others so that if that's a pain point for them, they can also use this too. So this is everything I've built has been very much proprietary for me. So this is the first foray into something that's a problem solving for others too. So that's really exciting for me.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I mean, you definitely need to have your systems in check for having a $5 million portfolio. So, how many doors does that look like for? How many units does that look like for you now?
It's 19 units, including 5 midterm rentals. So those
Okay.
are a very different management process than the long-term rentals, just because it's so much turnover.
Right, right. So for the listeners out there, you have long-term buy and hold, you're a long-term buy and hold real estate
Yeah.
investor, and you have traditional 12-month leases with, I'd say traditional, multifamily deal. What do you like more? What are you gearing towards more? It's from a management standpoint and a return standpoint. Do you like the normal 12-month leases with tenants, or do you like the midterm rentals because maybe they're traveling nurses and they can pay a little bit more? Maybe they keep the apartments a little bit cleaner, so it's less maintenance. When they leave, what do you prefer?
Yeah. I think I would say that I like overall, I like the process of the midterm rentals more for all the reasons you listed, right? Very different tenant base. These are renters by choice, usually, rather than renters by necessity, just by the nature of being furnished and not long term. You don't have people moving furniture in, you're not putting holes in the walls. There's very little wear and tear. Typically, these travelers don't have friends, right? They're not having big parties or gatherings. They're not home a lot because they're here on work contracts. So they're often like the wear and tear is very minimal. And if I have 5 years of midterm tenants, I don't need to do like a heavy lift went on a turn, right? But if I have a 5 year tenant that moves out in a long term lease, I'm going to have a pretty heavy turn. And so that's where I actually think the biggest value is in the midterm rentals. Like in Connecticut, I don't know what other people are seeing, but I actually don't see the premium that you're getting for this midterm lease to be so much better than if you were to do a long-term tenant, especially because you're going to have more vacancy and you're going to have some expenses that are not involved in long-term tenants, right? Like you're responsible for all the utilities and snow removal and lawn care. But I think where the midterm tenants really shine is that you just don't have as heavy turns as frequently as you would in the long term tenants. And you have cleaners in your property every couple months to really just do like a deep clean. It just never gets that dirty. And I have, to kind of break it down a little bit further, I have rent by the room and rent entire apartments. And the demographic is a little bit different. Like by the room is almost 100% nurses for me, where like entire apartments are like 50% travel nurses, medical professionals, and then 50% some sort of like life event where they sold a house, they're waiting for their house to be built, they're visiting family for the summer, their kids had a kid and they want to come help, right? So like not necessarily limited to travel nurses. So that's one thing that I think people are confused about. But still, all those scenarios still apply where you just don't have as much wear and tear.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. I know, at least here in Connecticut, for all the listeners, where Stephanie and I, it's kind of our home base.
Yeah.
There's a lot of availability to kind of cater to those traveling nurses. We have Yale, New Haven Hospital, we have Hartford Hospital, we have Trinity, we have St. Francis. So there's really down in southeastern Connecticut, you have L&M Hospital, and the list goes on. So there really is a strong demand for that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but typically, if you're a traveling nurse, you get paid more by the hospital. So in theory, you have a little bit more money to spend on accommodations like midterm rentals, and they're furnished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're paid more, I do worry about the longevity of
Mm.
midterm rentals as an asset class or as a strategy for optimizing your income because I fear that hospitals are going to start to reevaluate the cost of their human resources and try to bring in full-time staff, right? Rather than the travel nurses with 3-month contracts. So I
Right.
haven't committed to a property with the intention and only exit strategy of being a midterm rental. That's not
That,
something that I've done yet. All of my properties have been long-term rentals, or all the ones that I'm now using as midterms, they've all been acquired as long-term rentals that I've converted into midterm and could convert back if I needed to.
that is extremely smart and well said because as a local agent, I come across a lot of investors who kind of see the golden ticket or
Yeah.
carrot dangling about Airbnbs, and you'll see a property listed, a single family house, maybe it's worth 750, but they've been Airbnbing it, so the price tag's now 1.2 million, and time and time again, like, oh, I want to go see it. I'm like, don't buy it based on the Airbnb income because who knows what legislation or what laws will be passed, and now you're grossly overpaying. Same thing for the midterm rentals. Like you're
Yep.
probably buying that based on a normal 12-month tenant. What does that market rent go for? Right, a
Yeah.
2 bedroom, 1 bath in Hartford, Connecticut. What does that rent out for? Great, that's my fail safe.
Yep.
It's the numbers still make sense. If I can go midterm rental or can go Airbnb, great, gravy on top. That's amazing. But certainly, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Don't overpay for something just because you want to cater to that investment strategy. Buy it as a normal rental, and if you can do that midterm or Airbnb, phenomenal. But you always have a backup, so that's really awesome.
Totally.
Talk to me about some of the seller finance deals you've done. I know a lot of the listeners like the idea of seller finance. They might not know exactly all the ins and outs, but maybe you can share an example of a recent seller finance deal that you've taken down in the last year or two.
Yeah, so I recently bought a three family in Brantford. This was on the MLS, but I got it for much less, but still not as low as I wanted to. And I was able to make the numbers that the seller wanted, like where his lowest number, I could make that work even though it was higher than my highest number by offering to do seller financing instead. And or I guess by suggesting that we do seller financing. So what that looked like is I had a three family in Meriden that I sold, and I 1031'd those funds into the purchase of this three family. So the seller got like $250,000 down on a $500,000 purchase price, right? And just I'm going to give you numbers, but just so you know, there's like another property that's involved in the transaction that makes these numbers sound that makes these numbers a lot better than they sound, because I'm going to tell you, like, I bought a decrepit three family for 500,000 and I've put 220 into it. Like, the numbers don't work, except for it was a package deal and the
Right.
flip made it work. So just wanted full disclosure for my own pride to
Yeah.
share
Yeah.
that with
Yeah.
you. Okay, so I bought it for 500. I put like 220 down, and that was from the 1031 funds. And then I was going to basically get hard money for the rest of the purchase price and funding the rehab. And so between the points on the hard money and the interest rate, I was looking at maybe I don't remember, it was like 50,000 in just cost of money. And so I proposed to the seller. I was like, I could actually raise my offer by 50,000 and get to your number if you are my bank. So rather than going get hard money, I'm going to just not, and I got 0% interest with him for 7
Wow.
months, I think. So it was great. So 7 months of no interest on the balance of the principal, right? So 500 minus 220, and then so 280. And then I financed the rest, like I financed personally the cost of the reno. And so, like, I had a private money lender who gave me just a chunk of it to give me enough breathing room. And so that by saving all that interest, all the points, the closing cost was like maybe $3,000, right? Compared to what I would have spent if I had gone through like a traditional lender. There was no appraisal, which was really important because, again, I had this like package deal going on. So the deal was super fast, and I was able to raise my price and get to the point that he wanted. So, like, that was one way that seller financing let me win the deal. And for me, it's the same, right? Like, I'm going to pay the same amount out of pocket whether I'm funneling money to my lender or whether I'm funneling money to the seller. So, like, it really didn't matter where the money goes to me. But for him, the seller, it made a $50,000 difference and let me win a trophy asset in an amazing location, right? So, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, that's a home run. That is a home run. Congratulations.
thank
I
you.
assume you still own that today. Is that one of
Yeah, so we're
the
actually just finishing up on Saturday. We're doing the final walkthrough of the renovations. So we
awesome?
have not even started listing it. But I've put up a sign out front. It's on like East Main Street, and I my phone is blowing up, absolutely just blowing up. So I know that that's going to do really well once we start renting it.
Yeah. And are you going to go the traditional 12-month lease route, or are you going to do a little dabble in the midterm rental there? Brantford, I'm trying to think if there's any, like, what hospitals are there, but what are you thinking for that one?
Yeah, so I mean, New Haven is really close, and it's walking distance to the town green, so like a really great location. My plan is to start with long-term rentals, and then the two-bedroom is actually pretty small. So there's a one-bedroom, a two-bedroom, and a three-bedroom there. The two-bedroom's pretty small, so if I struggle with renting that one, I'll furnish it and make it a midterm rental. But I think my plan is to do long-term rentals because I still need to refinance the seller out. So I need to have an exit. And a lot of lenders don't like those 3-month leases when they're looking at your rent roll. So I'll probably start with putting a 12-month lease in place for all the tenants and then reevaluate after a year.
Yeah, makes sense. And for all the listeners out there, you said a couple kind of key target words I want to hone in on. The first one was a 1031 exchange, which is where Stephanie sold her three-family in Meriden, and instead of taking any of the profits, which in this case was about 250,000, she deferred. So she rolled that 250,000 into a new purchase on the Branford house, and she deferred those gains. That's a key word: is deferment. It's not forgiven. So
Mm-hmm.
in the event that Stephanie sells the Branford three-family or portfolio, she would owe those original capital gains of that Meriden three-family. So it's a deferment, right?
Right.
Can't forget that.
Right.
And then the other one is this, obviously the seller finance, which is the golden ticket there, especially at 0% interest, and you're just paying him the principal. Yes, you have to
I had
refinance out, but
no payments at all during
no
the
payments at
no
all.
payments at
Even
all to
better.
him
Oh
during
my
the life
God.
of the loan until 7 months. Interest starts at 5%.
Oh
It was
man,
such a
that's
good, like, it's a
oh.
juicy
And
arrangement.
that was on MLS, you said,
Yeah,
that deal?
yeah,
Even better. So, like, everyone's like, oh, I can't find deals. I can't find deals. Well, it's like, how many open houses did you attend? How many listing agents did you call? How many, networking events did you go to? And it's like, well, one, two. It's like, it's a numbers game. You got to make offers. It's free to do. You could have an agent make an offer for you. You could do it yourself. Just get an attorney. It's sometimes you feel bad for people, but then you hear success stories like that like you've been grinding, and now that even if you didn't buy anything else the rest of the year, that is a home run deal. You need one of those a year and you're on your way to financial freedom. Speaking of financial freedom, I'd love for you to share how you went from being an attorney to real estate agent and now full-time investor, and you can snowbird down in Georgia.
yeah. This is something that I'm just so personally proud of, to live in this unconventional way and have my rentals really cover this lifestyle, and not just cover it but enable it, right? So I live in Connecticut because my family's here and because there's no better place than Connecticut in July, August, and September, right? Like, it is perfection. But the other months are not quite as great. So I've started to really spend time in intentional places, and be able to travel. So I was going to the Caribbean for a while, and I'd go for like a couple weeks. I'd go for a month just to see, and then realize, like, actually it's great to be able to go away. And when my partner started working from home, that was like, okay, well, we can both go away. We can go away for longer. Let's do this. And so I'm definitely no stranger to living in a way that might be a little bit unconventional for most. Like, we rent out our house when we go, right? So, like, many people would not want that, but yet it covers our rent there. And we were there for 7 months for $3,000 a month. That's $21,000 that I would have had to pay, but I didn't because we rented out our place, right? So,
Brilliant.
I think if you can think outside the box and kind of get out of the fear of the way other people are going to look at you, then you can really start to open up your creativity. So that has been absolutely wonderful. And, when I left the firm, it was before I was financially ready. Like, I knew that I was taking a little bit of a leap of faith and I was going to have to fill in some financial gaps. And so I occasionally flip properties. At that time, I worked as an agent for like friends and family. I still have my agent license, but I really don't do anything with it except, like, I'm my own client. But usually, like, I'm not getting commissions on anything other than my own properties. So, like, I had to patch a lot of things together. But now I'm at a point where, like, I get to spend my time on creative things like the AI platform that I was talking about. I mentor women in the investor community on systems and processes, like building out really amazing SOPs. So, like, all of these things have been activated because now I get to live in a space that's not, like, burdened by the routine of work.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. You're living out a lot of people's dreams. I mean, a lot of our guests and listeners here, not guests on the podcast, but a lot of our listeners, are either listening to this from their car on the way to their 9 to 5, or, as they're getting home from work and, at least when why we all started real estate, and Steph and I have known each other for a number of years now. It's to get to that financial freedom. And so congratulations.
Thank you.
I mean, you always keep investing, and you keep moving, but no, it's amazing, and very jealous about escaping the cold months here in Connecticut to
I have
Georgia. So
one more piece that I actually want to add to
yeah,
that because
yeah,
this is something that I found just very important for me to share about my story. So I'm a lawyer by trade, and everyone just assumes that like I had all this extra money to buy real estate with, and that's how I got started, and it was really easy for me. And I want to just totally dispel that idea right now because I think actually this is this is way more relatable to a lot of people, or my story is way more relatable to a lot of people that are struggling to get into real estate than they think. And so, even though I was a lawyer, I was underemployed, I was underpaid, I was under excited about life, right? I was just like in a really bad place. And I had moved home, which logically makes a ton of sense to save money. Psychologically, it's terrible, right? So, like, I was at home. Um, and my mom mentioned to me I should buy a duplex. Like I needed to move out, but I couldn't afford rent, right? And so she's like, buy a duplex. And I was like, through this temper tantrum, that's the stupidest idea. I can't even afford a single family. How am I going to afford a multifamily? And when I calmed down and actually dove into that, what I learned is that you use the income from that second unit to bump up your own income and what you qualify for. And so I was able to qualify for a lot more by looking at a duplex and remove my housing expenses at the very beginning. So I bought a condemned duplex. I did a big renovation like on my very first deal. And thankfully, the 203K loan has like really great support for you to do that. But I just want to share that while I was in this very dark place, I stumbled on real estate. And so this was the most shameful time in my life. But looking back on it, it has become my competitive advantage. It allowed me to use and find my own resourcefulness to get things that I knew I wanted, but I didn't know how to get because I couldn't go the traditional route of having a good, healthy down payment and buying a single family home. And now I'm so glad I never did that because I might have been stuck in a career that I hated, in a house that I couldn't afford to move out of, right? So I just always feel the need to share that message that you could be in a snapshot of time, and what you don't realize is it is your strength.
yeah. No, that's so good and so powerful, and I'm sure so many listeners can relate to that. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Um, one question I've been asking all of our guests is, and you're no different. Very successful. You've grown your portfolio. How's your mindset shifted or changed? Is there anything you do daily, whether it's maybe you work out in the morning, or maybe you meditate, or maybe you gravitate towards a certain book or religion, or anything that has kind of like shifted your focus and mindset to allow you to be as successful as you are now? And then I have a follow-up question after
Okay.
that. What does your daily routine look like from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed? You got to walk me through your day. So
Okay. Um, I'm going to give you my ideal day and just know that
okay.
it's not always the same, right? So there are definitely days that I don't follow this, but I wake up around 6 and get to the gym and try to, lift weights, do some cardio. Um, if I don't go in the morning, I'm not going to go. So, like, really try to make that a priority and then come home. And this is your talk about mindset and shifting is actually, I would say, like my work for this year. This is what I've identified as like, okay, I understand that like I don't talk to myself nicely. Everyone else believes in me, but I don't, right? So, like, how do I still take action and grow and feel good and secure doing these big, scary things? And like bring myself along for the ride of joy, right? And so I've got a couple morning rituals that I do. Um, so a lot of these are given to me by like neuroscience principal experts and things like that. So Uh, I have recorded a life vision of, it's just a 30-second paragraph of what my ideal life looks like. So I listen to that. And actually, I've put it on loop. So if I'm walking, I'll just listen to that on loop, which is really nice. If I have a presentation coming up, something that like makes me really nervous, I will add another vision of like right after the presentation, how do I feel? And so that helps me be excited about the presentation, not nervous. So that has been really helpful. And then I'll listen to, this is a little fluffy, but I listened to some sound healing vibrations because I was told to, and I'm not going to question it. And then I will do, depending on like where my insecurity is lying, I will do what's called a 50 stack habit. So um, your brain is wired to keep you in exactly the same safe place that you're in right now, right? And so it's going to give you all the reasons why you shouldn't take that next step, make that phone call, make that offer, buy that building, right? Build an AI platform. It's going to tell you no because those things are scary. So instead, you brain dump and you have to write each thing down, and you try to get to 50 reasons why you should make that call. You should buy that building. You should buy that or you should build that platform. Whatever it is your insecurity is telling you, like, do not do, like, you're not the person to do this. You're not good at this. Write down the 50 reasons why it's wrong. And you will find that the first 5 to 10 are miserable and so difficult, and you don't believe yourself. And then the brain's like, all right, we're doing this, let's lubricate the process, right? And so then it starts to come up with like more and more ways, and by the end, and I've never gotten to 50, right? I've gotten to like 20 to 30, and at the end I'm just like, I'm amazing. So that has been a huge thing for me. And then I kind of go about my day. I try to plan my like heavy thinking in the morning, and then my VA gets on at 12. So if we have any like issues that we need to address or anything, we take like 12 to 12:30 to do that. And then from the rest of the day, it might be like podcasts or phone calls or planting things outside. Like I kind of use like the rest of the day as whatever comes up to be fair game. I'm trying to get back into reading. I find, and I'd love, Mike, if you want to kind of workshop with me, like one thing that I find is there's so much that I want to read that I get paralyzed and don't choose anything. So if you have a little hack on that, feel free to share. But that's pretty much like my big ritual. But one thing that is relevant, because I was just in a big rut and I wasn't doing any of those things, and I was just feeling like I don't really do anything during the day, you know. I left. I just did a day trip and totally got out of my routine. I got out of what is normal to me and came back feeling totally energized. And that, I think, is something that people might be feeling. And like, you forget when you're in a rut, you do not know how to get out of it. When you're freshly out of a rut, you know exactly how to get out of it, right? So I want to share, in case anybody is just in a rut, like, change your routine and change your scenery. One day, totally disconnect and come back, and you might feel totally different. Or you might not.
Yeah, I love it. That might have been the best answer to that question we've had yet. So thank you. I
Oh, it was
definitely will
thorough.
take a few nuggets from that. Well, I mean, thank you for coming on here. You shared a wealth of information. I hope a lot of the listeners can have some takeaways from what you said. Want to keep? I know you're time sensitive here, and I want to stay on time. So, Stephanie, thank you so much. Real quick, where can the listeners find you? Where can they learn more about you? Either Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn.
Yep.
We'll obviously share everything in the show notes, but just in case people are listening now, where can they find you?
Yeah. So Instagram and Facebook, I'm the Stephanie Cabral. And then you can email me if you're interested. So right now, what I didn't mention is that we are doing product shaping interviews for this AI platform for maintenance coordination. So if this is something that's interesting to you, or if you're property management or owner operator of your rentals, this would be a really helpful interview for me to you to understand what your process looks like, your pain points look like, and if there's any interest in actually adopting the tech you'd be part of shaping it so you'd get exactly what you need. So if you're interested in that, you can reach me at Stephanie at theleanlandlord.com. That's the LEAN landlord.com.
Awesome. And we'll be sure to link that in the show notes. So thank you all for listening. If you liked what you heard today, be sure to like and subscribe. Sky's the Limit Podcast on Apple, Spotify, and our website. Stephanie, thank you so much. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Thank you for watching Sky's the Limit. We're always releasing new real estate content. So if there's something you want to hear, be sure to leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel.